What's up, Raider Nation? If you're having a good day, hit that like button. If you're not, hopefully this video will cheer you up. My name is Mitchell Renz. Y'all are watching the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I have some NFL news that I think potentially could impact the Las Vegas Raiders. Y'all know I always say dominoes, they fall. And there was a lot of dominoes that ended up falling today. And when that type of stuff happens, there's going to be a bunch of NFL teams that are going to be grasping because the NFL roster cut day is coming up here August 26th, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Teams have to get their teams all the way down to the 53-man roster. So you're going to see some free agent signing. And there's been a lot of free agent signings. There's been a lot of free agent buzz going on today. So you all know I want the Raiders to add more talent to this team. And if you feel that exact same way, you have to see what happened today around the National Football League. Let's go to the first thing here. The Cincinnati Bengals, they're shopping Trey Hendrickson. Nothing new information. This has been going on for months. But at least now we kind of have a little bit of a sense of maybe what the Bengals are exactly asking for. And according to Diana Rossini, teams that have recently inquired about Bengals star Trey Hendrickson were told Cincinnati's asking price included a young defensive player and a first-round pick in 2026, according to league sources. The player headed back does not have to be a pass rusher. So Diana's putting out something about Trey Hendrickson. So originally I'm going, all right, Trey Hendrickson, if the Raiders were actually interested in Hendrickson, they're probably also looking at some other potential free agents out there on the open market. Names that I've thrown out there, Jadeveon Clowney. I've also thrown out this name, Matthew Judon, who literally just signed with the Miami Dolphins on a one-year deal that is worth up to $6 million. So the fact that we know, again, you got to think about how NFL teams think. If the Raiders are interested in Trey Hendrickson, that also means they were looking at other edge options. If one of their edge options is now off the board, that might make it a little bit more of a higher priority for the Raiders to go out and get a deal done. The reason why I think that this could impact the Raiders is because Spytek believes in building in the trenches. And yes, the Raiders look better against the 49ers than they did against Seattle, but I still don't think that this team on the defensive line is as strong as what it needs to be, considering how confident we were in that unit with Christian Wilkins. Also, you got to remind yourself that Charles Snowden could be facing a possible suspension for 3 games for a DUI case a little bit early on. So you know that one of the dudes that you're going to be depending on is not going to be there. Tyree Wilson has also been looking good as a defensive tackle. If it was up to me, I'd go, all right, well, how can I be able to put Tyree at the defensive tackle? Then you go out and you trade for Trey Hendrickson, you put him as a defensive end. Let's also say this because it's the truth. Malcolm Koonce has not looked very good this offseason. And I've torn my ACL. I know how difficult it is to come back from an injury like that. I get it. I didn't play in the NFL. I get it. I wasn't the athlete that Malcolm was. But my eyeballs are telling me that Malcolm doesn't have the same oomph like he did back in 2023. So if you're the Raiders and you're concerned about all those things that I just talked about, do you go out and trade for Trey Hendrickson? Because right now it's a yard sale. And I don't give a shit what Cincinnati wants for Hendrickson. If y'all aren't willing to pay him, if y'all aren't willing to do everything that happened with Shamar Stewart, the Bengals told me this offseason, they don't care about their defense. All they care about is the offense, and that's why they paid T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow 3 contracts that total up to $666 million. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick up the phone, and I'm going to call Cincinnati because the owner of the Bengals cares about one thing and one thing only. He cares about money in his pocket. And here's the thing. I'm going to be able to save y'all about $30 million per year. Now, this is a low ball offer. I want to be very clear. It is a low ball offer. But at the exact same time, I can't sit up here and go, the Raiders traded a 3rd-round pick for a starting quarterback like Geno Smith, who I believe has top 10 potential. I'm not willing to give up any of that other draft capital because I believe in this organization and I believe building for the future. So if you're not going to pay Trey Hendrickson, sounds like he might not play at all. I do wonder if the Bengals will just be like, all right, I'll take just about anything if I don't have to go out and I don't have to pay him. But like I said before, that is a low ball offer. And it's a low ball offer because the Raiders already went out and they paid Max Crosby this offseason. And when they paid Max Crosby this offseason, he was the highest paid player that was not a quarterback, and he was making big-time money, $35.5 million. Also, there's a lot of rumors going on right now with Micah Parsons. Micah's going to be on this list. He's going to be number 1 on that list. So every single deal that ends up getting done, Hendrickson's price tag goes up, and it goes up, and it goes up. and Cincy knows that. So I'm trying to get a low ball offer right now to go out and get Trey Hendrickson. But I also am trying to be a realist here, and I understand if I were to offer the Cincinnati Bengals that deal based on the report, they're probably going to fire back and go, well, if we're giving up Trey Hendrickson, I want one of your young pass rushers. And to me, you ain't getting Max Crosby. So the two most logical edge rushers that I think Cincinnati would ask for is Malcolm Koonce and Tyree Wilson. So what you guys see on the screen here is this. On the left side, you can see the numbers. Trey Hendrickson, we get him. The Bengals get a third-round pick of Malcolm Koonce. Or on the right side, it's Tyree Wilson, a third-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. The reason why I'm showing all y'all this is because this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and I want you to choose a side. Let's say you wanted Trey Hendrickson bad enough, and since he said it's either option 1 or option 2, which option would you go with? My answer coming up here after this YouTube ad break. Friendly reminder, I already offered you my first deal. That's the deal that I would originally go with. But if I had to pick between Tyree Wilson and Malcolm Koonce, this might surprise you, I'm going to go with the Malcolm Koonce side. And I would rather trade away Malcolm 1 year, $12 million compared to what Tyree Wilson's making this season, because I also believe Tyree's going to be able to help us at defensive tackle. Malcolm has been struggling a little bit, but Trey Hendrickson would be a better edge player than Malcolm Koonce. That also allows Tyree Wilson to get kicked into the inside, and I think overall the upside is higher with Tyree, who's looked much, much better this offseason. Again, I don't want to move on from Malcolm. Perfect world, I get to keep Malcolm, Tyree, and you get Trey Hendrickson, but I think the Bengals would offer a counter offer wanting, if it's going to be a third-round pick, one of those two young players. Now, I'll always say this. I hope that when people watch this show, they understand that we're never afraid to have a good time. I can be the Raider fan that'll sit up here. I'll chug a beer with just about anybody if you got a pulse and if you're over the age of 21. But I'll also say this. Nobody knows more about the Las Vegas Raiders on YouTube than I do. Quite frankly, I've been covering this team every single day, and I can confidently say I've been smarter than every head coach, GM, duo this team has had since 2018. Now, maybe that's not saying too much, but it is a true statement. And I promise you, for the low price of $0.00 over the next 365 days, you can become a smarter Raiders fan by hitting that subscribe button. Let's go to the next NFL news that happened today that I think could impact Las Vegas. Xavien Howard. I'll tell you, that was not on my bingo card today in terms of names that I haven't heard. Xavien Howard ended up signing a one-year deal worth up to $5 million with the Indianapolis Colts. I'll tell you what, man, I would have loved to hear a name like Xavien Howard. I know that he didn't play last season and was somebody that a few years ago we talked about a bunch on this show, has struggled with some injuries. He's always been a good ball hawk, but he's going to get an opportunity at 32 years old to go to Indianapolis, and he's going to get an opportunity to play. Now, for me, I know that the Raiders are right now currently looking at the cornerback market. There are rumors out there, and if you're going to watch my show that I'm going to put out tomorrow, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you're going to hear me talk about a lot of cornerbacks. So to me, I know the Raiders are reportedly looking for a corner. If they're looking for a corner, could Xavien Howard be a domino that ends up falling? Because I know that certain signings lead to other teams making deals, other teams making moves. The Raiders traded away Ja'Cory and Bennett. You let Nate Hobbs and you let Jack Jones, go test the market, and I'm confident in some of these players. But I also am like, we need more help, and I would not be upset about adding a corner. So to me, I'm looking at some of those top free agent corners out there. There's two, Stephon Gilmore and Rasul Douglas. I'll still put Asante Samuel Jr. on there, though he doesn't really fit, I think, what Pete Carroll's typically looking for in a corner, a little bit undersized. Troy Hill, Kendall Fuller have some connections, Hill especially. But if the Raiders are serious about making that cornerback room better and about sticking to what Pete Carroll typically likes and has been looking for this offseason, a savvy veteran that can help your younger players out. I think that is a Rasul Douglas, and I think it is a Stephon Gilmore. Coming up here, more news that could potentially impact the Las Vegas Raiders, because when a day like today happens, and the Raiders did not practice today, and knowing the fact that the Raiders did not practice today, every time NFL news happened, I was sitting here going, are the Raiders going to do something? Are the Raiders going to do something? I don't exactly know. What I do know is if you got nice legs, dude, don't be afraid. Show them off. I try to show off my legs all the time, even though you guys can't see it here. And a huge, huge shout out to Chubbies, because Chubbies has been making my legs look better for a long, long time, way before they were a sponsor on the Raiders Report. And even though summer's winding down, there's still time to let the dogs out. And by dogs, we mean your legs. Before your pups get stuck in jeans and sweats this fall, set them free with the Line Swim collection from Chubbies. Whether you're poolside, lakeside, or oceanside on that long-awaited vacation, these trunks are ready to travel. Life's too short for uncomfortable swim trunks, so these babies are set up for all-day comfort with quick, dry stretch fabric and a built-in liner that actually does its job. No more chafing, no more soggy butt, no more mesh disasters. For a limited time, use our exclusive code CHAT for $10 off at chubbyshorts.com. Let the thighs out. Let the good times roll. I love them because, let's be real, no ad read is complete without a shout-out to the classic Line swim trunks. They took everything annoying about old-school swim trunks, like the scratchy mesh liner, they replaced it with soft, supportive boxer brief liner that keeps you dry, comfortable, and chafe-free. With quick dry fabric, four-way stretch, and great prints that bring the heat. Whether you're jumping into the ocean, napping on the beach chair, or somehow ending up on a rooftop bar, these trunks have your back and your thighs. Whether you're suiting up for cannonballs, cookouts, or casual Fridays, Chubbies has you covered. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners $10 off your order with our code CHAT. That's CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. That's code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Support the Raiders Report. Let them know that we sent you. Give summer that one last hurrah. Keep the good vibes going with Chubbies. And I don't know about you, those shorts that are up on that screen right now, they're pretty freaking sick. This shirt that's up on screen right now, I'll tell you this, pretty flippin' sick. And you're going to see me rocking those shorts. You're going to see me rocking that shirt on the Raiders Report in the future. So I just wanted to be able to put out that information. Chubbyshorts.com. They are changing the game. I personally love everything that they bring to the table, and they're going to be bringing a lot all season long. So that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Let's go to the next story here that the NFL news that could impact the Raiders. Gabe Davis is visiting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I am anticipating that he is going to end up signing, and I'm saying that because this is actually his second visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I want to give credit to our Steelers guy here, Jack Sperry. Literally was like in the office today at Chat Sports goes, I think the Steelers are going to sign Gabe Davis. I'm not shitting you. 3 seconds later, Schefter throws out this tweet, and to me, that's something that I'm going to look at because I know this. The Raiders are looking at the wide receiver position, and if you don't believe me, wait till you see my video out tomorrow. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're going to have to check it out. But there are rumors right now that the Raiders are looking to trade for a wide receiver. And if the Raiders are looking to trade for a wide receiver, that tells me that they're also probably at least looking at the open market, the free agency pool, because they are very confident in their top 4 wide receivers. And Jacoby Myers, who, I'll tell you this, is a little bit frustrated right now. He wants a contract extension. He's in the final year of his deal. And if the Raiders are looking at wide receivers, could this domino be the one that falls to kind of get other moves going? Because when I look at what the current players that the Raiders have, they like what they have, but they're always trying to add speed. And I do wonder, Gabe Davis is a field stretcher. Could the Raiders potentially look at some other guys? Now, to me, I would rather you not sign any of the wide receivers on the open market because I don't want an Amari Cooper. I don't want some of these bottom-of-the-roster guys. There are some big-name dudes out there, and the number one name is going to be thrown out there is a Terry McLaurin. But I do wonder if the Gabe Davis signing could impact the Raiders if they are truly looking at a wide receiver. Let's go to the next one. And quite frankly, this one might be the biggest one out of all the ones that I talk about. Dalton Risner. He is visiting with the Cincinnati Bengals. And if you've been following along with the show, if you're a part of the Noti Gang, if you've been subscribed, give me an RO4L down below because you probably agree that this is the one that is like, oh shit, Dalton Risner visiting with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have been looking for a replacement at offensive guard all offseason since losing Alex Kappa. And I'll tell you this, Dalton Risner, much better of an offensive lineman than Alex Kappa. That's why I'm a little bit frustrated that this doesn't say the Raiders will be hosting veteran guard Dalton Risner. But to me, I know that the Raiders need interior offensive line depth. You can sit here, you can lie to yourself, you can look at yourself in the mirror, but Caleb Rogers, he ain't ready yet. Alex Kappa, been battling a rib injury. Hell, we're still thinking about keeping Thayer Munford on this roster. We are an offensive line that I think our starting 5 is set in stone. I am confident in Colt Miller, Dylan Parham, who has been looking much, much better, and I'm fired up about Parham. Jordan Meredith continues to look good. At right guard, JPJ. Right tackle, DJ Glaze. I do really think that our starting offensive line is where it needs to be. However, though, after that, there are lots and lots of question marks. So to me, I want the Raiders to go out and sign an offensive lineman. I want the Raiders to try to improve this interior line because it scares the absolute bejesus out of me, and we are one injury away from a Geno Smith to this season being over because if AOC or Cam Miller are in the game, we're not going anywhere. And whether you think we're going anywhere or not, I at least want to have the opportunity to hope that we're going to go somewhere. Some of y'all are going to see Brandon Scherff on this list. Some of you might follow the show. Some of you might not. Scherff did retire, but he literally retired last week. And I wonder if the Raiders were like, all right, man, I know you retired last week, but here's an extra milli. Are you willing to come to Las Vegas and try to be a offensive lineman in this rotation? I don't think Scherff wants to be a backup. I think Shaq Mason, Mark Lewinsky would be a little bit more on the backup train, but Dalton Risner is the top interior offensive lineman out there. He's got connections to our assistant GM and Brian Stark, and seeing him taking a visit to Cincinnati felt like a huge gut punch to me today. Let's go to the final one that I have here on today's show. Joe Flacco was named the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm not surprised by this. Neither should you. I know Dylan Gabriel played QB for the preseason. I know Shador looked really good. Kenny Pickett, from what it sounds like, this team is going to carry 4 quarterbacks, according to Adam Schefter. But Rappaport put out today that the Browns are naming Joe Flacco their starter. And some of you are going, Mitch, why does that impact the Raiders? It impacts the Raiders because we go up against the Cleveland Browns week 12 of the NFL season. I don't know if Flacco is still going to be the starting quarterback by that time, but I do think that if Cleveland is at least in the mix, it's going to be Flacco. If the Browns are going to be as bad as what I think the Browns are going to be, then who knows? Maybe they're going to try to see what they have in another quarterback. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe it's somebody along the lines of Shador Sanders. Quite frankly, I hope it is Shador Sanders because I think we have a better chance to win that game. And I know when Shador Sanders plays, that means more eyeballs on the Raiders, more eyeballs at Allegiant Stadium, more money for everybody. And I think that makes everybody happy. I don't know. At least it makes me happy. So just an FYI before I get out of here, I'm going to be dropping a video on Jakobi Meyers tomorrow. And you might have heard me talk about it a little bit on the video that I did this morning. I talked about it a little bit today from time to time. I know that Jakobi is a little bit frustrated. I'm going to go into a little bit more details of some of the stuff that I've heard over the weekend and some of the stuff that needs to be on your radar. Tomorrow is a can't-miss show. For everybody out there, that was when I was talking about a month before the Christian Wilkins saga, this video is going to be similar, where you might not have heard some of the stuff, but it's a can't-miss show. Dropping tomorrow morning, bright and early. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure the noties are on, because I'm going to be showing love to that noti gang.